Hi, this is Dave with Level Up Woodworking, and today I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to look at a project that I built 10 years ago, but it has been so robust, I wanted to share it with you, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, it's no secret that wine consumption has increased significantly over the last 20 years, and I happen to be one of those guys that have contributed to that. I really enjoy a nice glass of red wine. I love to collect wine, I love to store it over time, and then pull out a nice bottle and enjoy it with my friends or family. So today I'm going to take you through a wine cellar that I built 10 years ago. It still looks great, it functions great, and it's really been a robust design, and anybody can build this. Now, the unit that I built about 10 years ago, I budgeted $3,500 and I hit that budget. Today might cost you an upwards of maybe $5,000 to build it, but it's a beautiful piece in your living room. It functions great and it will hold several hundred bottles of wine. So let me take you through that build. Let's go inside. Okay, welcome to the inside of my house and my 10-year-old wine cellar that actually looks pretty darn new. So let me take you on a tour of it. First thing I want to bring up is the lighting. I've had a switch on the outside. I've got LED lighting on the inside that just gives kind of a nice ambiance for the cellar. The other thing I'd like to point out is these doors. I've got these big insulated windows, which I really like. Got some very interesting handles. Why don't you come in and take a look? These are interesting handles that we found at an antique store. They really go well with the project, and of course a lock. And I wanted to put a lock on here because, well, you never know when your wife's going to try to steal a nice bottle of wine, and I want us to at least negotiate which bottle we're going to have. Inside, let me take you inside here. Got room for basically 200 bottles of wine. It's not even full right now, but it's fairly well stocked. And I've got a flooring down here that's a marble floor. They're floor tiles that I bought at a big box store. And then I built a cabinet right here. Very simple cabinet out of some cedar that I got at a big box store. And these are 2x6s, and I broke those down to make this rack for all the wine bottles. Got a wine cooler up here and an open space to kind of play with, as well as open space down here where I can display some bottles that I want to drink, or maybe some bottles that I've already enjoyed. Underneath that, I put some empty boxes down there, but that's also space for wine. So anyway, that's the wine cellar. I think it turned out great. It's been very useful, and we've enjoyed it for a number of years, and I think probably a number of years to come. Let me take you through the build process now. So before we get into the build, I have to talk a little bit about what we had to start with. This house was built in the 70s. We did this remodel about 10 years ago. There was actually a wet bar on the other side of this wall facing the other way. Wet bars are interesting, but they're probably not as popular today as maybe a wine cellar is. And we love wine, so we wanted to put a cellar in. We had to take the wet bar out, seal up the back wall, open this up in an effort to build a wine cellar facing this direction. But that wasn't the only challenge. We really had to build it from the ground up, literally. One of the problems we had is we had a vent sitting here that we had to move over so we could open up the wall to the kitchen. And we had to dig everything up, dirt and all, to be able to do that. But we also had to take care of the water lines that came to the wet bar. We had to silver solder those because they were going to be under concrete. We wanted to make sure they would never leak again. We had to cap off the vent, and we had to rewire some of the wiring. So you can imagine this took quite a while to go through all of those steps, get the right tradespeople out here to do that before I could build the cellar. Now, I'm not advocating that you go through that process because it would cost a lot of money. All I'm saying is if you have an existing closet, you could build this pretty easily. So once we did that, we were left with 2x4 studs, dirt on the ground, and dirt where the wine cellar was. I had an opportunity. And what I ended up doing was telling the contractors I wanted to build the floor of the cellar a little bit lower than the main floor of the house. The reason I did that is I wanted to insulate the cellar. So we were able to frame that out. They poured the concrete, worked out great, and then I was ready to actually start on building the wine cellar. So the first thing I did was seal all the electrical boxes, and I used duct tape to go around those and seal those as best as I could so there was no air leakage through that. Then I wanted to use 5mm plastic, you can buy it at any big box store, to seal around all the studs, the floor, and the ceiling to make sure it's completely airtight. And to tape that up, I used this Tyvek tape. This stuff was great. Did a great job of sealing that so that the inside of this was as airtight as I could possibly make it, which is good for the efficiency of the cellar. Once I knew I had it sealed well, I moved on to insulation. And I put R15 in the floor, R15 on the walls, and because I had room on the ceiling, I actually put R30 insulation. Might have been a little bit of overkill, but reality is you want to put as much insulation as you have room to be able to do, and that's what I could do. So I put 30 in the top and 15 around the sides and the floor. And then I put a 3/4 inch piece of plywood down on the floor for my subfloor and built up from there. Now, let me take you inside for a minute. For the walls here on the inside, I used regular sheetrock, but this is not just the regular stuff. This is the stuff that's mold resistant that you want to use in like bathrooms so you don't have any mold problems. Put that all the way around the sides and the ceiling, taped it up and sealed it well. I'm not the best mud and tape guy. It's not my forte. It's really an art. But I was able to do this room. It's not that bad, and I'm sure you could do that as well. Once this was sealed, I was able to paint it. And that was another key that I learned, is you want to paint it with a dark color. If you have a light color, like a white as an example, it'll reflect too much light, and it could damage your wine over the long run. So black would have been the best, but I really didn't want black, so I settled with dark blue, which happened to be my favorite color, and it keeps it nice and dark in here. Yeah, I know I got the windows, but I wanted that for ambiance, and so I decided to keep the windows in there, but have a dark color on the walls. Once I was painted with that, I went to the subfloor and I put a marble subfloor in. I used marble tile squares. I got those at a big box store, small square footage, so it didn't cost very much to get that done. And because I had already sealed everything with the plastic, it wasn't that big of a deal to put that tile floor in. I didn't have to worry about it being perfectly sealed. After that, I put the doors in place, and these doors I ordered, special order. It's a standard size, but I had them delivered and did not have them finished. I had them built onto the frame because I wanted them to fit it with the frame to give me a better seal. And so I put the doors in, the frame in place, just put some screws in to hold it in place, and they were basically done. The next step was sealing between the door and the wall. There I used a spray foam insulation that you can buy at any big box store. It expands really well, fills all the gaps, and then I put a wood trim around the inside just to make it look a little nicer. Now, as far as the finish goes on the doors, the reason I got these unfinished is because I wanted to match the kitchen cabinets that we had put in. And so I purchased some guess you'd call it almost proprietary finish for that. It was a 3-part finish that went on the doors to match the kitchen cabinets. And I have to say, it turned out really well, and it matches well, and it was good finish. I put this on the outside, the trim to make it look nice, and then I had a great sealed unit. As far as the cooler is concerned, this is a Cellar Pro cooler. It is the lowest level cooler you can get because I've got 59 square feet in here, and this thing will support 300 square feet. So you can imagine it should last a long time if it only has to cool 59 square feet. It has the intake and exhaust that come from the back of the wall, and I'll show you that a little bit later. And I did that because I couldn't vent to outside air. I live in Arizona. Outside air is going to get well over 100 degrees. I want to keep this about 58, and you can only have a 30-degree difference between the inside air and the air outside this unit. So I vented to the house, which worked out just fine. This is a great unit. I did make it a little bit bigger, the opening a little bit bigger, but I sealed it. So if I take this out and put a new unit in, it's easy for me to open up the wall and be able to put a bigger unit in. We'll see what happens. It's lasted 10 years so far. Then as far as the cabinet's concerned, these are actually 2x6 cedar planks. Bought those at a big box store as well. And I just picked out the ones that I thought were best. I wanted to build a robust frame, and I wanted it to be a little different from the rack on top to visually make it a little bit different. I put this whole thing together with cabinet screws. They're very long, small head, and so you do see some holes when you put it together, but actually it looks great and the screws don't show that bad, and I was kind of happy with that. For interest and strength, I put some cross members across the bottom, and as you can see in the picture, I can store a lot of wine down there. And then I put a rack here so that I can display bottles of wine, either bottles that I want to drink or maybe bottles I've already had. And then below that, as you can see in the picture, I've got some boxes. Now, I could take those boxes out and fill that completely with wine, but right now I've just got some boxes in there. As far as the rack itself is concerned, I used the same cedar. I just cut it on my job site saw and used a brad nailer to put this together. You can find the proper dimensions on the internet about spacing for wine bottles, and it's worked really good for a number of years. Carries a lot of weight, hasn't been a problem at all. As far as lighting's concerned, I put in LED lighting, and I wanted to shine down to kind of give an ambiance that I thought was kind of nice, with a switch on the outside, and I can actually dim these lights if I want to. Did you hear that? Let me show you that again. That is a sign of a good seal, that high-pitched squeal, and makes me proud every time I close that, because I know I got a good seal in here. This is going to stay very cool, and that's going to be an efficient wine refrigerator. So very happy with that. Now, let's go around back and take a look at the back of the wine refrigerator. Okay, so this is the vent right here. We blended it in with some paintings that we have on the wall. I built the frame and put a steel casing over it, and it just held on with Velcro. Works really well, and it vents to the outside. It's a small unit, intake and exhaust, and it's all sealed in here. And the nice thing about this is I built the opening larger than the unit, so if I ever have to buy a bigger unit, I can do that and install it in the same space without ripping out the whole wall. So I think it'll help in the long run. So, thank you for watching the video. Anybody could build one of these in a closet, a bar cabinet like I did, It's not that hard to do. With the information I've given you on this video, you could probably do this yourself, and it's a great and beautiful feature to add to your home. So thanks for watching, and if you like what you see today, please hit like, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe. I really do appreciate it, and watch for future videos coming out soon. Thanks for watching.